Hey everyone, today I thought it would be fun to take a trip down memory lane and see what it was like to load programs on this computer, my Color Computer 3, before we had a floppy drive for it, and what it was like to load programs into most computers of the 1980s and late 70s before everyone had a floppy drive or a hard drive. The method for doing that was this little magical device right here, a cassette recorder. That's right. So if I wanted to play a game, I would turn on the monitor, turn on the computer. Now this machine, you see the cassette recorder sitting on the disk drive, but the disk drive controller isn't actually plugged in. It's that controller right there, and you can see that this multi-pack interface that it's plugged into is not connected to the computer. I can get my finger in there. You can also tell by the startup message. Instead of saying disk extended color basic, it just says extended color basic. All right, so on with the show. My program is on this cassette tape right here, and we're just going to pop that into the recorder. Make sure we're wound. Hey, we are. Okay, so I'm going to issue the command here for loading a machine language program from cassette. And we'll push play. Now the volume on this can get finicky. A lot of times you end up having to stop and restart the program because the volume's not high enough. And it'll start to load the program, and then you'll get an I/O error. Seems to have found our program. Oh, and there's what I'm talking about right now. Okay, so apparently the volume is not correct. So let's stop, rewind. And let's crank up the volume a little bit here. Usually between 4 and 5 is recommended. So there we go. I've turned it up to 4. Okay. Let's try this again. Okay. Go. Okay. Let's see how it does this time. Searching. Okay, we found it again. Let's see how far we get. All right, the flashing F means we're successfully reading data. Cassette recorder spinning and spinning. And we're flashing and flashing. This is a game called Puyen. It was on a pretty good number of home computers back in the day. It's actually a really fun game. The only thing now is with the RGB monitor, the colors don't look as good. This game took advantage of NTSC artifacting peculiarities. So this computer was able, with clever programming, to generate more colors than the specs really called for in the low-resolution video modes. Unfortunately, the RGB monitor is a little too precise for that, so we don't get the artifacted colors, but it still does look pretty good. Looks more like a CGA game on this beast right here. Anyway, see how we're doing. Now might be a nice time for a soda. Oh, look, there's one. So this is loading at about 1,500 bits a second. This machine over here, the Model 4, also loads software on Model 3 mode at that speed. It's also capable of loading at 500 bits per second, which is the original TRS-80 Model 1 speed. Imagine waiting 3 times longer to load this program than we've already waited. We're almost there. Almost. Will we make it? Will we have success? The suspense is killing me. That click with no error message means success. All right, let's run this bitch. Oop, that's not the right command. It's EXEC. There we go. Uh-oh. And there's one of the other problems you tend to have. I loaded the program after I already started to load the previous one, and it didn't work. So now we have to rewind the cassette. And do this again. All right, we're going to enter this, and we're going to play this. Welcome to the world of cassette tape loading. Disk drives really were. When we got the floppy drives, it was a major change for us. was amazing. Now we take it for granted. You've got hard disks became ubiquitous, and now, I mean, solid state drives and phones and things. People just take storage for granted, but it was never quite as reliable until recently as we've come to expect. And these tapes are supposed to be computer certified, so they're supposed to be a slightly higher quality oxide, higher quality cassette material. The recorder itself does have its auto level control tuned to computer outputs, so. But in the end, it is still just regular cassette recorder. You could play audio tapes through it, take it with you. There's no built-in microphone, though, in this recorder, so if you want to record audio with it, you've got to plug something into it. We're going to watch that. I need to put this to some creepy music. Found Puyan, found Puyan, still found Puyan. While we're waiting, you see this thing sitting on top of my Model 16. It is an old hard drive enclosure. Inside I have a hard drive emulator, but the controller and this machine are fighting. So that has been one of my projects, is to try and get a hard drive working on that thing. Someday, perhaps. Someday. The Model 4 is pretty much just good as it is. You might be wondering what these are for. These are for cleaning the heads in the cassette recorder, and the cap stands and pinch rollers. Because when I got this thing, this isn't the original CCR81 that we have with the machine. I bought this one because the old one was broken long ago. So I bought this one, but it needed a nice cleaning. Hey, look, it worked this time. Let's see if the program will actually run. Here we go. There we are. Look at that. Puyan. And like I say, the colors aren't great. They'd be a little better if you had it on a television monitor, because artifacting would make the colors look a little more realistic. But it doesn't change the fact that the game is a whole lot of fun. So, that was 7.5 minutes of your time. And just imagine how much of my time was spent doing this as a kid before we got this little wonder, the Tandy FD502. Until next time, that's your Color Computer Minute.